Welcome once again. In this program we're going to be looking at wooden handled sticks, and out of all the sticks that have ever been made there must be more wooden handles than anything else. In the pot here I've got some examples of wooden handled sticks, and probably the simplest but probably one of the most popular sticks ever made was the wooden thumbstick. It's not difficult to find and not difficult to make, but a very, very good stick to use in hilly country. And really all you need to do is cut it, season it, and then straighten it, steam and straighten the shank. And then on the top end here you'll probably need to just take a little bit of wood out to make it comfortable to put your thumb through. Some I have seen that you can actually get away without doing that, but most you'll need to do that much. And then you can finish it by varnishing it or any finish that you particularly like. And finally, just put a steel tip on the end. Next we have the knobble stick, and for this you need to cut the stick from a fairly large thick branch, at least as thick as my arm, possibly more so, and the branch would come out like this, and we cut the stick either end, and therefore you've got a big chunk of wood on the end of the stick, which you must let season for quite a long time, probably more like 18 months to 2 years preferably. If you don't, it will split. But once having done that much, you just finish it the same way as you would a thumbstick. You season the thing through, and then you varnish the shank, and you put a tip on the end. A fairly simple stick, but very effective and very popular. I have an example here. This head's been made from burr wood, and burr wood is beautiful stuff. It's like a big lump that grows on the side of a tree. It's a sort of tree cancer really, and you have to cut this lump off and then cut it into slices and season it, and in the middle of it are these most magnificent figures, squirrely marks and lines, really, really beautiful grain stuff. Most of this stuff goes actually into tabletops, clock faces and exotic things like that, but if you're lucky you can sometimes get some offcuts, which I've got here, which is ideal for stick handles. And let's just have a look at these offcuts. This one here is burr all the way through. You can see all the little spots and the marks and the squirrels. Beautiful. This one here has got some burr in it, but it's not all burr. So if you get a piece like that, what you really need to do is to design your handle so that it comes up here, for instance, up from the stick, and then loops around here, and you actually get the burr on the handle piece. Of course, it doesn't have to be burr wood. You could use a piece of oak, you could use a piece of elm. Any hardwood, preferably hardwood, will do to make this type of head. And of course the shape, this is a shape I like, but you can make any shape you like. Last but not least, we come on to the one-piece hazel block stick. We have 3 examples here, and it just happens that this is one of my favourite types of sticks. Now, this is how it's done. We have a block. This is the main stem of the tree, and as you can see the branch comes off to one side. We sever it both ends. Make sure that you leave plenty of wood both sides, more than you really need. One thing I always go very careful with, if you're doing the crook shape with the nose out here, is not to make that too thin. If you're using horn, then you can go thinner because it's stronger. But our first job really is to remove the spare material in the middle here, in the middle of the block. Now there's different ways you can do this. My favourite way is to just make a saw cut through here and here and here, 2 or 3 lines, and stop short of the line that you want, just there. Stop maybe about there. Also, if you see the original drawing, I've gone in much closer to that now. So I've left just a little bit of room for error around the outside, but I'm getting close now, so I'm going to have to go careful when I start to remove the rest of the wood. And I'm going to do that next. I'm going to start trying to move this into a rounded shape, more like a head, and take all the edges and corners off all the way around. Once again, I prefer to use a knife a lot of the time, and once the the stick's actually in the vise and firm, and you get a good sharp knife, you can take quite a lot of material off. About this area, we have to allow a little bit for the fact that there's some damage being done to the head, obviously. And despite this being a hen bird, you see we still do have an area around here, around the eye, of red. That seems to be coming out okay. So that the thin part of the beak is at the top and it splays out towards the mouth here, which is what we want. We can see therefore where the red area starts and ends. That's it, that's just about got the line we want. Very different to the piece of wood that we tried out on. This is working much better. I think this is because it's a harder sort of wood. At this point, I'm going to spend a very long time continuing this over the whole bird and finish off the feathering. As you see, I've completed the feathering now. What I've also done is given the whole stick a coat of varnish. Now the reason I've done this is it's taken a long time to do the feathering, and you don't really want to leave a block stick with no covering on the wood at all for any length of time. Even if it's been 2 or 3 years seasoning, right in the middle of the block, when you're working on it, sometimes you can get a small crack going over the edge. Another reason for putting a coat of varnish over is that when you paint onto wood, if you don't prepare the surface with varnish or lacquer something first, when you put the colour on, it can very easily run in to an area that you don't want it to, and once very lightly. Now the reason for that is that if we go across like this, we make it lighter, but hopefully we can still see the veins in the feathers. I don't really want to cover them up if I can help it. And what I tend to do to get the effect is to put in a line of light colour, like that. And then if we look where else we need some, there's some just around the front edge here. So I think we've covered pretty much everything. We've got the dark feathers on the top, the light feathers underneath, and we've got the eye area here, not dark red but a pinky orangey colour really. So overall, yeah, I think we've just about done it.